Bonjour amigos, welcome. This is the second episode of the BlitzBoyHD show. In this episode we will be discussing a hypothetical united Africa. Now, I know that it seems a little far-fetched, but I will try to make it seem reasonable. With things like ECOWAS, that is, the Economic Community of West African States, and a proposed new country called the East African Federation, and the existence of the African Union. This is a lot more likely than you might think. But the chances of it happening are still quite low. However, in this video we are going to look at what would occur if it actually happened. Firstly, the bureaucracy would be through the roof. Let me show you an example. Right now I'm living in Cape Town, which is a city in Western Cape, which is a province in South Africa, which is a country. But in this united Africa I would be living in Cape Town, which would be a city in Western Cape, which would be a province in South Africa, which would be a state in Southern Africa, which would be a region in Africa, which would be a country. I forgot to mention I'm splitting Africa up into different regions. These are Northern Africa, Western Africa, Central Africa, Eastern Africa and Southern Africa. Firstly, let's look at Northern Africa. Northern Africa will include the following 6 states: Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, Tunisia and Western Sahara. Secondly, let's look at Western Africa. Western Africa will include the following 16 states: Benin, Burkina Faso, Cape Verde, Gambia, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, Ivory Coast, Liberia, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone and Togo. Thirdly, let's look at Central Africa. Central Africa will include the following 10 states: Angola, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Republic of Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Sao Tome and Principe and Zambia. Fourthly, let's look at Eastern Africa. Eastern Africa will include the following 13 states: Burundi, Comoros, Djibouti, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Seychelles, Somalia, South Sudan, Tanzania and Uganda. Fifthly, let's look at Southern Africa. Southern Africa will include the following 10 states: Botswana, Swaziland, Lesotho, Madagascar, Malawi, Mauritius, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa and Zimbabwe. Let's look at the regions in terms of their population, their nominal GDP and their land area. I will be rounding off these figures. Northern Africa has a population of 202 million people, a nominal GDP of $687 billion and a land area of 6 million square kilometers. Western Africa has a population of 402 million people, a nominal GDP of $674 billion and a land area of 6 million square kilometers. Central Africa has a population of 198 million people, a nominal GDP of $259 billion and a land area of 7 million square kilometers. Eastern Africa has a population of 376 million people, a nominal GDP of $377 billion and a land area of 6 million square kilometers. Southern Africa has a population of 163 million people, a nominal GDP of $485 billion and a land area of 4 million square kilometers. In total, Africa would have a population of 1.3 billion people, which would make it the third most populous country ahead of America but still behind China and India. Of course, no country can beat these two. For now, Africa's GDP would be $2.5 trillion, which would make it the 8th largest economy ahead of Italy, Brazil and Canada but still behind India, UK and France. Africa's land area would be 29 million square kilometers, which would make it the largest country in the world ahead of Russia and Canada. Just a couple of things to remember. Even though Western Africa may seem like it's really rich, 2/3 of its GDP is from Nigeria alone, and without it they would be the poorest region behind Central Africa. Now let's look at some other aspects of this new republic. What would be the capital? Every province, state and region should have its own capital. Let's discuss the capital of each region. Northern Africa: Cairo. Western Africa: Lagos. Central Africa: Kinshasa. Eastern Africa: Dar es Salaam. Southern Africa: Joburg. The capital of Africa would have to be Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Next, let's look at the official languages. Africa has at least over 1,000 native languages. By the north it would be Arabic. French by the west and Central Africa. Swahili in the east. Swahili is the most spoken native African language with an estimated 250 million speakers. In the south it would probably be English. Religiously, Christianity and Islam would dominate the continent. Islam in the north mainly due to conquests and Christianity in the rest due to colonization. The African Union is planning to introduce a common currency called the Afro. This currency will most likely be backed by minerals and resources. They would have a good military since instead of fighting each other they would fight for each other like African brothers. Trading materials would involve minerals and resources as we mentioned before. Wildlife tourism would be a big factor contributing to the economy. Two struggles Africa could face are corruption and poverty. However, with good leadership those problems can be overcome. Their national anthem would probably be Africa by Toto. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. In my next video I will be talking about languages.